Which one of these should you buy? That's a good question. I'm glad you came. Let's talk about it.
It's not left with you. The feeling's going through. It's always you. It's always you.
So, to end the year, these were two of the hottest phones of 2020. But they seem like they are directed to relatively different audiences. The way I would describe the Note 20 Ultra would be a phone that goes all out. It tries to take zero compromises and it does it very, very well. The 12 Pro, however, is more of a phone for iPhone users who are within this Apple ecosystem or who generally want a capable iPhone. And as long as it's an iPhone and as long as it's powerful, then that's the good phone for them. But I guess there are people in between, people who do like the iPhone world and who do like the Android world, specifically Samsung, and therefore are watching this comparison. Now, right off the bat, the first thing you see and feel with a phone is the design and the build. And they are both phones with the highest build quality that you can get. Now, in terms of build quality though, I feel like I do want to give it to the 12 Pro. It is heavy for a phone of that size. And I don't see that as a negative. I do see it as, it's not uncomfortably heavy, it's just heavy. And so it feels like a metal slab. And what really adds to that is the boxy design, because you really feel like you're holding a slab of metal. It also has a matte finish on the back. Now the Note 20 Ultra does have this with the bronze color, but other than that, it's glossy and I really don't like that. But Apple have stuck to a matte finish on the back and it looks really nice, and I can't stress that enough. On top of that, it feels very, very nice and much less prone to scratches, especially if you're getting the graphite version of the 12 Pro in comparison to the black version of the Note 20 Ultra. Then that makes all the difference in fingerprints and scratches. And so if you're gonna rock this phone without a case, without a skin, then the glossy finish really doesn't look great. But you can get the matte finish for the bronze Note 20 Ultra, and that does look pretty nice in my opinion. Now, also in terms of the build, size is a matter that comes into place, and this is really a matter of preference. I think everyone would agree with me though if I was to say that the 12 Pro is more comfortable to hold. Like in terms of comfort, this is the perfect size for a phone. But the Note 20 Ultra is massive, but as well that can be a good thing if you're looking for this pro aspect of things, to be able to get a big display with big functionality and big experience in general. Then the Note 20 Ultra as a Note phone delivers that, and it delivers it really well. And the Note 20 has a camera bump that is, in terms of the build, is inconvenient because it allows for rocking on the tables and all that, but it looks very nice, I gotta be honest with you. But I also really like the camera bump on the 12 Pro because you have so much depth with it. First you have that glass which is raised above the back of the phone, then you have all three lenses individually raised on top of that, and it looks really nice. And you can tell from the camera bump on the 12 Pro that the engineering is at the highest you can get, and so build quality is also at the highest you can get. But you know what, at the end of the day, design is just a matter of preference. I do really like the design of both, except for when it comes to the front. You have the notch on the iPhone, I don't like that. You have the punch hole on the 20 Ultra, and that in my opinion is about 100 times better. Now, why do you have the notch? You have the notch for Face ID. Why don't you have a notch in the Note 20 Ultra? That's because you get an in-display fingerprint sensor. Which do I prefer? I definitely prefer the fingerprint sensor, because Face ID is much more prone to just making a mistake, or depending on the angle that I'm sitting, if I'm resting my head on my hand, whatever. The 12 Pro can just decide not to work. Face ID can decide not to work, and then I have to put in my password, and it's really annoying. If the phone is kind of slightly slanted, Face ID doesn't work sometimes, and if it's on a table, Face ID doesn't work, whereas the fingerprint in the display works very well. But also, the displays, comparing the displays, they're both very nice displays. They're both very bright displays. One is bigger than the other, but it's a matter of preference. In terms of a display being functional, you got to give that to the Note 20 Ultra though, because a bigger display will just look better when you're watching content and everything like that. But in terms of what I said earlier, size is still a matter of opinion there. But they're both bright, they're both OLEDs. Samsung does have the extra edge. They've always had the extra edge when it comes to displays, and it does look really nice 120 Hz is something that you cannot ignore with the Note 20 Ultra. It is also 1440p, but you can't use 1440p and 120 Hz at the same time, so you do kind of go back down to 1080p. So just having said that, the Note 20 Ultra is a clear winner when it comes to the display, and the 120 Hz is a big reason why. But also, you have the curved corners, the curved edges on the Note 20 Ultra, and me personally, while a lot of tech YouTubers complain about this, I really like it. I think it looks better. It looks better, and that's about it. But a lot of people complain that it's harder to type with a curved display and all of that. I never had that issue. And if I've seen some polls online, it's about 50-50 in terms of who likes the edge displays and who doesn't. But in my personal experience, as my review, they just look better, and that's about it. And so in my opinion, it can only be a bonus. And then also, when it comes to displays, you got the haptics, which are the vibrations you get when you interact with the display. So not a vibration when you're calling, it's more of a vibration that feels like a button when you press something, or the phone. It tries to add this extra sense of depth to the phone when you're using it, so it doesn't feel 2D. And they're both very good, but I am gonna give the edge to the iPhone. iPhone just always had really nice haptics. And for me, and I say this in every review, is that haptics are a big part of how I judge whether a phone is premium or not, because in order to have good haptics, you have to have high quality manufacturing and therefore high build quality, and they both have it. But as I said, the edge goes to the iPhone when it comes to haptics, and it is a really nice addition to the phone. Now, of course, I can't ignore that if you're using a MacBook and an iPad, then the iPhone definitely deserves some extra points, because it really makes all the difference in terms of the connection you get between all your devices, the way you can copy something in your Mac and then paste it into your phone, or vice versa. And there's so many other things, how I can access my desktop and my document from my files on my iPhone. That's all really good. So if you're using Apple products, then this definitely deserves something, because it will make all the difference, and I definitely mean that. Now, of course, one of the most important features with any phone is battery life, and Apple, while they have a much smaller physical battery at 2800 milliamp hours, as the Note 20 Ultra has a 4500 milliamp hour battery, the iPhone is still, in my experience, better with battery life. Now, this I think is because I'm using the Exynos model with my Note 20 Ultra as opposed to the Snapdragon model, which are the different processor options you get with the Note depending on your location. So I could find that the Note would occasionally die by the end of the night, whereas the iPhone still has about 15% left over, something like that. And in relation to battery life, a big part of it, which I think is incredibly important, is the fast charging. So you can use the 20 watt fast charger with the iPhone, but you got to buy that separately for £20 or dollars, and it should get you advertised to get you 50% in 30 minutes, which is really good. So if your phone wasn't charging overnight, you put it into the charger for half an hour and you'll get 50%. You put it in for a little bit less and you will still have enough battery life that could probably last you the day if you're not really using the phone all the time. And while that is good, you are getting a similar charging experience with the Note, but it is better because you get the power brick in the box and you don't have to pay for any more. Now, on top of this, something that the Note has which the iPhone doesn't is DeX. So you can plug your Note into a monitor or into your laptop and it turns into a desktop computer, and that is crazy. But I'm not going to get too much into that. It is just a really cool thing because you get to have multiple windows open and a desktop like a desktop computer, like Windows or Mac OS. On top of all this, they're both IP68 water and dust resistant, but the Note 20 Ultra has expandable storage, which is a good thing. Now, of course, something you get with the Note, which you don't get with the iPhone, is the S Pen, and it is the most refined, most well thought out way of combining the use of a stylus and a phone, and Samsung do it very well. So if that's an important thing to you, if you need to maybe sketch things down, you prefer to handwrite things than type things, if that is something you would like to do and is an important thing to you, then no phone does it better than the Note. So in combination with the big display, that's also a big pro, and overall the software is also very well designed to work with the S Pen. The speakers, not that you should really be listening to music through your phone speakers, is a little bit better than the Note 20 Ultra, but I mean, there's nothing really noticeable there. But something about both phones is the microphone is placed in a horrible position and it's very, very easy to block. But now for where a lot of the money in both of these phones go into, the cameras. So having a look at the Note 20 Ultra first, you're getting a 108 megapixel main sensor, which is crazy. I mean, this is a part of the whole Ultra thing where they're trying to get no compromises, and some would say it's overkill, and I 100% agree with you, but that is the idea of the Note, that you're getting overkill, that you have breathing space between what is standard and overkill, and you can choose your in between. And the 108 megapixel, in my opinion, is very, very cool, because you get a lot of detail in photos, because there's 108 million pixels in the photo, so you know, it's kind of cool. Then you get a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and you get a 12 megapixel 5x optical zoom. So not digital, optical, it's properly zooming in 5x without a loss of quality, which is more useful than a 2x telephoto, which the iPhone 12 Pro has. But it also allows for a digital zoom of up to 50 times, which, while it's also overkill, is a really nice feature, and I wouldn't say it's a gimmick. I think it's kind of cool to have it there. The fact that you actually get detail in a 50 times photo is crazy. And these lenses have a relatively large sensor, which basically means that you're going to get nicer bokeh than what you get with the iPhone. Because these lenses are large, you're getting more of a blurred background without having to use the portrait mode options, and so it looks more natural and it looks better. And especially when it comes to video, blurs the background and it looks very, very professional. It's a very nice addition. And also on top of this, you get to record 8K at 24 frames with the Note 20 Ultra, which is not perfect, but I really, really like it as well, because it does look really cool. It is really cinematic. So Samsung here are really trying to push the boundaries and push the standards and not take any compromises, and that's the idea with their Ultra lineup. Now in terms of the 12 Pro's camera, you're getting all 12 megapixels. So the main is 12 megapixels, the ultra wide is 12 megapixel, and the telephoto is 12 megapixel. And the telephoto is a 2x, as I say, not a 5x. The max you can record at is 4K at 60. And it's the only phone with Dolby Vision, which is a type of HDR, which basically makes videos look better. And the videos on iPhone are without a doubt very nice. They're one of the best there. And iPhone pictures are still iPhone pictures. They don't overdo it with the camera processing, which is something that you'll either prefer or you won't prefer. With Samsung's processing, they tend to up the saturation, up the contrast, whereas with Apple, they try and keep it as close to what real is, and their colors are more realistic. What's also good about that is it allows for more editing in post. So if you're gonna take pictures with your phone and then edit in Lightroom, for example, it hasn't done too much for you already, or it hasn't overdone it for you already, so you have more control when it comes to that. And while sometimes I prefer the saturated looks of Samsung, sometimes it is nicer to kind of have a more real-to-life version of the image that you get with iPhone. So yeah, that is the camera experience with both phones. So yeah, as a whole, they are two pretty different phones, and the Note 20 Ultra is a very interesting phone because it's not like most. It is, as I say, trying to push the boundaries, and if you're into that, if you're into being able to push the boundaries and having access to many things, to having access to a pen, having access to a desktop through your phone, having access to a big screen, having access to a camera that records 8K. If you want to be able to push those boundaries, you're getting that all with the Note 20 Ultra. But if you want something that fits into the Apple ecosystem, but has incredible build quality and a very, very, very good camera, and works like an iPhone and has all the pros of iOS, being a very, very, very refined software, more refined than Android, though you do get less customization, but you're willing to, or you even like having this very simple setup in terms of the software, then iPhone is your guy. But you know, Note 20 Ultra is a much cooler phone, to be honest, and you know, you get the reverse wireless charging as well. The Note 20 Ultra, if you're into all of that, is your guy. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please, 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 please subscribe if you haven't already. I want to get 10K as soon as I can. So if you could help me with that, that would be much appreciated. Also, give this video a like and comment because it helps with the algorithm. And check out my Instagram at El-Naggar if you want a behind the scenes perspective. And you know, just get to see what I'm doing, stay up to date with the next video and all of that kind of stuff. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Salam.
It's always you. I keep falling for you.